How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? My name is McFly, and this is my review of music to be murdered by. I hope you enjoy it. What's up, man? It's your boy McFly, man, the hardest working man in shoetainment today. Coming at you again, man, with another album review. Today we are going to be breaking down the Eminem's latest album, Music to Be Murdered By. If this is your first time over here in the land of McFly, man, I welcome you. I appreciate you stopping by. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and comment before you leave. Become a frequent flyer. Join the winning team, man, because we are out here grinding. Also, we got a current goal set, trying to hit 5,000 subs by December 31st. So if everybody sub up, we can go ahead and get that done. I'm pretty sure that I broke 1,500 subs today, but I'll check in a minute, I guess, when I get my when I get my phone out or whatnot. But appreciate everybody subscribing, rocking with the channel, all that good stuff, man. Thank you. Who Has the Heat Season 4? We currently taking submissions. If you guys want to get on, hit up the Who Has the Heat IG page. The judges are me, myself, 313 Retro King, PM Kicks, and the richest man alive, E Money Shoes. We also trying to do Who Has the Bars, man. So if you think you can rap, we get enough people to sign up for that. We need at least like 8 to even get the ball rolling. So if you want in, jump in, man. We'll be there waiting for you. But for now, let's talk about Eminem, man. This album came out a couple weeks ago. I think it was mid-January when the album dropped. It was a sneak drop, or shock drop as we say in the sneaker community. It came out of nowhere. I'm loving the fact that in today's music industry, they don't waste their time on marketing and all of that, man. They just, people dropping albums when they feel like it, man. I think that's amazing. I wish it had been like that back in the day, but oh well, it wasn't. To give you a little history on my listening of Eminem, I've been listening to Eminem since his first album. I never heard his first EP or whatever that was. I can't even remember the name of it, but I never heard that. I started with Slim Shady LP. This is where I started. I followed his career on up until present day. And regardless of how you feel about Eminem, you can't deny his lyrical capability. And just period, he's one of the best lyricists that I've ever heard. His first 3 albums were bangers. Recovery was a good album to me. I also was a big fan of Kamikaze. I felt like that was a decent album. Revival wasn't a bad album. It just, I love the subject matter, but I didn't like the production. I didn't like the execution on that particular album. If he had came with the same energy from Music to Be Murdered By and Kamikaze on Revival, I think people would have felt differently about it. But a lot of times people don't want to speak to certain social issues or whatnot. But regardless, for most, Revival was a dud. Even to me, it was a dud. The music wasn't great, but the content was cool. Relapse was pretty much a fail in my opinion. It had some bangers on it though, maybe 4 or 5 tracks. Encore was the true beginning of the fall off, and everything else is pretty much dope. The Marshall Mathers LP2, that album was just too long. That's probably last on my ranking of Eminem album. You know, I should do that. I should like go through and chronologize, y'all know what I'm trying to say. Every album, line them up, how I feel about them. I'm gonna start doing that. I'm not gonna do that today though. But yeah, Music to Be Murdered By. Album's out. It's been out several weeks. I found it generally favorable. I always enjoy hearing Eminem rap. What the man can do with words is just crazy, like, for sure. Oh, be sure to comment down below. Do you rock with Eminem? Do you not rock with Eminem? Did you like the album? Did you not like the album? What's your favorite Eminem album? Any of that stuff, man. I'm down. I love talking music. It's one of my favorite pastimes. This particular album though, Music to Be Murdered By, I liked it. I like the album. I can't say that it's trash. I can't say that it was horrible or the worst thing that I've ever heard, or you know, whatever. It was a legitimate album to me. And what I liked about it most is that the album had a theme. He had Alfred Hitchcock on the album, introducing people. You know, I feel like he should have put that skit first though. Have Alfred Hitchcock greeting everybody, so that way you start the tone of the album with that. I feel like the album was somewhat disrespectful. It was dark. It tapped into a side of Eminem that we haven't really seen in a while. And I think overall it was an actual project. Like it had a purpose, it had a point, it had a direction. And that's really what I look for in albums, you know, something that has a point, something that has a purpose. And this album had a purpose. I don't know if his last album or not, probably not, because you know Eminem can't shut up. And he got to make up for large lapses in his career. But overall, I thought the album was decent. It was good to hear. I don't feel like that it was better than Kamikaze though. But I may want to re-listen to Kamikaze, so put a hold on that. Currently, right now, I feel Kamikaze was better, but probably tomorrow I'm gonna go listen to Kamikaze, and just to make sure that I ain't tripping. But yeah, generally favorable album. The lyrics were there. It was some nice production on it. There were some production fails as well, and I got my phone. I don't have my notepad today, so we can run it all down from the celly telly. You dig? So I'm gonna try not to hold you here forever. You know, just wanted to give my points and whatnot. So we're gonna start with the I guess the worst points of the album in my opinion. And just because I say they're the worst, it doesn't mean that they're not decent songs or that they trash. It just pretty much wasn't for me, you know what I mean? And in the bottom, I had Little Engine. That was a song, Little Engine Go, Little Engine. Nah, that engine, stop. If I want to hear something about some little engines, I'll go check out Thomas the Train. Lock It Up, I wasn't really a big fan of that song. Farewell, I wasn't a big fan of that song either. Those Kind of Nights, that song was kind of like a club banger. I liked the beat a lot. I liked the hook, but the bars didn't really grab me. I mean, he was rapping and he had a scenario for each verse and all of that, and it was cool, but that's not really a song that I'm gonna run back. Like Little Engine, I'm not running that back. I'm not running Lock It Up back. I'm not running Farewell back. So those three for sure, Little Engine, Lock It Up, and Farewell, wasn't really a big fan of those. Those Kind of Nights was okay. I mean, if I'm in the club or something and it come on, cool. But riding in the whip or at the house, we skipping that. We skipping that for sure. So that's that's pretty much the bottom four of what I had off of this album. It was a couple songs on here that were borderline as well. Like the songs weren't necessarily for me. They were decent songs. They had decent content, but you know, I didn't really like them. The first song I had for the borderline section was Darkness, which is it's a decent song. It's about him shooting up stuff and, you know, personifying a mass shooter and all that good stuff, and laying out what's going on through their head before the massacre. Shout out to 50 Cent. But that song, although it's not a bad song, I don't care to hear it. I don't care to hear it repeatedly. I don't care to hear it all the time. Creativity and all that was cool. Subject matter was all right. It didn't take you back to early Eminem days, but it kind of, you know, teeter-tottering on type of stuff that he used to do. And Stepdad, I wasn't really feeling that song either. You know, I appreciated it in hearing it, you know, and him talking about what's going on with him in between the stepdad and all that throughout the years, but yeah, I felt like it wasn't really necessary. But yeah, those were the two borderlines that I had, Darkness and Stepdad. as far as the highlights of the album, it was quite a few of them. It's a lot of songs on this album that I actually like. The album, let me check the track listing. I think it was 20 tracks. 20 tracks on the album, 3 of them skits, for a total of 17 songs. And for the songs that I liked the most were The Premonition, the first song, Unapologetic with Young M.A. Even though I wish Young M.A. had kept the same energy that she kept when she first started spitting. And you know, and then she was like, but I had to pay a bill, and then it kind of, you know. But not a bad song at all. Premonition, Unapologetic, Marsh, I Will, and No Regrets. Certified bangers in my opinion. I rock with all those songs. There's also a couple of other songs on here that they're pretty dope too, but they're not necessarily in my top 5. So top 5 that I feel like if you're gonna listen to this album that you need to hear is Premonition, Unapologetic, Marsh, I Will, and No Regrets. And there are a couple of songs in between that you should listen to. Number 3 was You Gonna Learn with Royce da 5'9". Subject matter was cool. I think I wasn't really feeling the beat. That's what really killed that song for me, was the beat. The content was cool, but I gotta be able to ride with your beat. You know, Royce is spitting, M is spitting. It took M a while to really get to his bars, and Royce had to build his up too. And then you got a lackluster beat, and it's like, you know, at points y'all were killing it, but you know, if it play on the radio, I may let it ride. Nah, I might not. It just depends. Yeah, they had a joint on here with basically all the Slaughterhouse cats except Joe Budden, and that's why it got bumped down to the middle, because Joe wasn't on it. And I understand that Eminem and Joe don't get along, and you know, whatever, but when you're doing stuff like this, you say you're gonna put Slaughterhouse on the song, you can't put the whole squad on the song and not have the whole squad. And I think it would have been beautiful to see, you know, M and Joe go at it in their own way. Essentially, they probably would have been taking shots at each other on the song, but I think it would have been good to hear, you know, since Joe thinks he can watch M, and I'm sure M thinks he can watch Joe, and just out of the sake of competition, for no other reason than that, I feel like Joe should have been on that song. But they were spitting, you know, they were rapping, they did their thing, and it is what it is. So out of all 17 tracks, well 20 tracks, 17 songs, I'd have to say that I like, or would play constantly rather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold on, I messed up. I messed up, man. Bear with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 tracks out of the 17 I rock with, which is essentially half of the album. I know a lot of people gonna be like, well, why didn't he talk about Godzilla? Godzilla is an okay song. Juice WRLD definitely killed the hook on that. Eminem was rapping, but I felt like in listening to Godzilla, you're just waiting for the end. You don't really care what he's talking about in the beginning. You know what's coming at the end, so you just want to hear the end. You're like, hey, let me get to the end, and the end doesn't make a whole song. So still not a bad listen. At the end of that joint, M lyrically killed it, but yeah, first 2 verses, he could have just scratched that, came on, spit. He could have made that like Godzilla interlude or something. He could have done that, but he didn't. Leaving Heaven is not a bad song. I actually kind of rock with that. I like the hook. I like how he set it up and what he did with that. It's definitely a strong message in that particular song for what he's going through and whatnot. So all in all, I was okay with the album. I found it fairly favorable. I'm still playing songs off of this album to this day. I say that like it's been out for months. I don't know if this album will stand the test of time or really add to M's legacy. I don't know if anything going forward would really add to M's legacy. I don't really know. But let me get over here. Overall, I rated Eminem's album in its entirety a 3.1. That's what I gave it. 3.1 out of 5. I gotta make sure I say out of 5. 3.1 out of 5 is what I gave the actual album. It's not terrible. I mean, it's just a decent Eminem album. It's not the Slim Shady LP. It's not the Marshall Mathers. It's not the M Show. It's not Recovery. It's kind of kamikaze-esque. You know what I mean? But it was cool. Some monumental things really happened on this album, music-wise, in my opinion. And honestly, I'm satisfied with it. And what I'm noticing is that this album was one of those albums, either you love it or you hate it. You know, certain people had certain expectations of what they were going to get. Other people had other expectations. Me, I try to come into albums with no expectations. I try not to get my hopes up because, it's, you know, when you're let down, it hurts, bro. It hurts. Not like physically, but you know what I'm saying. You wasted your time listening to somebody's album and it was 100% pure garbage. And it's like, could have did something else at that time. Could have been rolling around and, you know what? Yeah, but you know, man, it is what it is. 3.1 on the album. Doesn't really add anything to his legacy. Doesn't really take anything away either. He closed a lot of doors on this album as far as ongoing beefs and, you know, stuff like that. I try not to give too much in these reviews because I want people to hear it for themselves, formulate their own opinion, and you know, then we can revisit it at a later date or whatever. But that's what I gave it. That's pretty much Music to Be Murdered By in a nutshell. I felt like it was a decent album. I felt like it had a great theme. I like slightly over half of the album is favorable, and even some of the songs that I don't like, if were minor tweak, they could be decent songs as well. Like it was an all-around project. What I expect from an album is what this was. The only thing was missing is that it don't ride end to end. That's the only thing hurting this album from being a legendary album or a historic album. And with Eminem, you're gonna skip some songs. In my opinion, he doesn't have an album that'll ride constantly. He's got a couple that come pretty close though. But, and you know me, I be skipping, bro. I skip some stuff in a heartbeat. I ain't about to. After that initial first listen, you just next. For real. But that just is what it is, man. That's my opinion. Eminem, Music to Be Murdered By. Let me know if you agree, disagree, you think I'm crazy, you think I'm on point, whatever, man. Let me know. Hop in the comments. We'll talk about it. All that good stuff. And until next time, it's your boy McFly with these music reviews. I'll holler at you.